On August 4th, 2024, in Spokane, Washington, 5,000 fans cheered on as Ween played an epic 2.5-hour, 32-song set, with 2 encores. Throughout the 90s and 2000s, Ween had managed to weasel their way into the fringes of pop culture through occasional appearances on the radio, in movies, and on television shows that their music helped inspire.
But now, we've got the honour of seeing 2 blokes from Pennsylvania who allegedly call themselves Ween. And I'm particularly looking forward to this. I'm going to sit back and enjoy it.
I've checked it up in the phone book and they are called that.
Yeah?
Hey.
But unlike other long-lived institutions like U2, Pearl Jam, or the Rolling Stones, Ween continually reinvented themselves, completely retooling their sonic profile album to album and even song to song. All of this material, plus a wealth of unreleased but well-loved deep cuts, fueled a 3-decade-long spree of mind-blowing live performances. And each live performance of a studio track was the definitive version, depending on who you asked. Every one of the 5,000 fans in attendance that night knew it would be a show to remember. But what they didn't know was that it would be the band's last for the foreseeable future.
Oh, we're Ween.
What's a Ween?
We're a band, you know.
Out of nowhere, out of the total musical vacuum, out of total darkness, comes one ray of light. And it's fucking Ween.
Aaron Freeman was born March 17, 1970, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Mickey Melchiondo was born 6 months later in Trenton, New Jersey, on September 25th. The two met in 1984 during 8th grade in New Hope, PA, but initially didn't like each other. According to Aaron, he was a jock, and I was more of a trench coat guy, but we sat next to each other in typing class and both realized we were into music. Among their shared interests were artists like Prince, the Beatles, and Pink Floyd, as well as funk acts like Funkadelic and Sly and the Family Stone, all of which left an indelible impact on their creative output. One day, Aaron brought a blank cassette to school. That morning in typing class, Aaron and Mickey took the cassette's J-card insert, wedged it into a typewriter, and typed a single word: Ween. Afterwards, the two came up with 10 song titles and went to Mickey's house after school to record them. They reverse-engineered the songs from the titles and, using an incomplete drum set and an out-of-tune guitar, committed their new compositions to tape. Thus, Ween was born. The name Ween was a crude combination of the words wuss and penis, which Mickey felt perfectly described the music they were making. The two would adopt stage names, with Aaron becoming Gene Ween, or Jeaner, and Mickey becoming Dean Ween, or Deaner. Gene and Dean's first show as Ween was at their high school talent show in 1986, where, after a theatrical entrance,
the band that you are about to witness is a legend, a living legend, a legend that will live a lifetime long after all of the other living legends have died. You are about to witness a band that was labeled by NME magazine as being the greatest thing since cheese. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome, from New Hope, Pennsylvania, Ween!
The band allegedly performed a cover of Purple Haze with Chris Williams, later Mean Ween, on bass. Though many claim this to be the footage of that initial performance, I have my doubts that the song they're playing is Purple Haze. Though with early Ween, I guess anything is possible. From a picture taken right after the event, I can pick out Gene on vocals and guitar, with his goggles and trench coat, Mean Ween with the white bandana on bass, which would leave either Carl Weimer of Instant Folk Death or Deaner on drums. Between 1985 and 1989, Ween would self-publish and promote at least 6 cassettes: Mrs. Slack, Erica Peterson's Flaming Crib Death, Ween 2, Axis, Bold as Boognish, The Crucial Squeegee Lip, The Live Brain Wedgie / WAD, and Prime 5, along with the split release with local band Smersh and an Aaron Freeman solo tape called Synthetic Socks. These are partially lost media, and what we do have is pretty rough, at times almost verging on no wave or musique concrète. That said, a few of the songs from these tapes would make their way onto later releases, albeit in a slightly higher fidelity, like You F***ed Up, Bumblebee, I Got the Weasel, and Stacy. I wouldn't say any of these tapes are necessarily great, but if you're interested in checking one out, I would go with Bold as Boognish, which is closest sonically to their second album, The Pod. Bold as Boognish also features a 15-minute long suite called Opus 51 Fugue Trilogy in A. Go figure. An important concept to introduce here is the idea of brown music. Brown, roughly translated as not right but wrong in a good way, is a term often used to describe Ween's early work, from their cassette era on through to their third studio album, Pure Guava. For an example of brown in practice, Diener was more than able to shred guitar solos in the late 80s, as attested by live recordings from this period, but would often choose to record short, messy, atonal guitar parts on tape, meaning the sonic quality and musicianship of these early Ween releases were, at least partially, intentional. While working at a gas station, Dean would frequently pass out cassettes and zines, trying to get their music heard by as many people as possible. As you can imagine, Ween eventually had quite the reputation in New Hope. Along with the music they recorded, Gene and Dean also made up extensive lore surrounding their lyrics. Some characters and motifs from these lo-fi 80s cassettes continued as thematic through-lines well into their major label releases. One important development from this time was that of Boognish, the demon god whose likeness acts as the band's logo. According to Ween, Boognish commanded Gene and Dean to commit his teachings to tape, inspiring them to record over 1,000 songs in a short period of time. Boognish is a common character in the band's early works, and still makes appearances in their later releases, if you know where to look. Ween would frequently play at beloved New Hope venue John and Peters, as well as City Gardens, a Trenton nightclub that, before its closure in 2001, acted as a stomping ground for many renowned musicians like Danzig, Curtis Blow, The Ramones, R.E.M., and Sonic Youth. These early shows consisted of Gene and Dean on guitar and vocals, accompanied by a DAT, or DAT machine, which acted as their drummer.
What are you saying? What? Drums?
Gene would often wear a chef's hat and swim goggles, while Dean would wear a red skull cap. Through their connections at City Gardens, Ween were able to open for bands like Guar, Butthole Surfers, They Might Be Giants, and Roland's Band, which exposed them to a wider audience. One fateful night in 1989, Ween opened for the New Jersey post-hardcore outfit Skunk. Skunk was comprised of Matt Sweeney, the future guitarist of Chavez, Matt Quigley, who would go on to form Vaganza, and, on drums, Claude Coleman, who formed an instant connection with Ween. As Ween took the stage that night, they had no idea that Dave Ayers was in the audience, an A&R rep for indie record label Twin Tone, which had signed artists like The Replacements, Babes in Toyland, and Soul Asylum. Ayers had come that night to see Skunk, but as the DAT machine began ticking away, and Gene and Dean Ween stepped into the light, he set his sights on a new target.